Hi, welcome to the 2025 OWASP Global AppSec Conference. We're here at the Marriott Marquis in Washington, D.C. I'm your host, Josh Marpet, and joining me for this interview is Adam Shostack, president at Shostack & Associates. Adam, welcome.
Thanks. Good to be here.
So you just gave the keynote for the entire conference. Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Tell me about the keynote.
So it's tomorrow.
Oh,
it's
tomorrow?
It's tomorrow. My keynote is tomorrow. This morning was Daniel Messier.
Okay.
Gave a great keynote. And tomorrow, I'm going to talk about stop managing risk.
Okay, no.
Yes.
No. You must not stop managing risk. I mean, what are you talking about, man?
Okay, so what I'm talking about is exactly the response that you have, right? We've learned that what we do is risk management. And a lot of times—
I could use different words, but the idea of working with risk in some form or fashion is important, I think.
Okay. When we try and do it, when we try to quantify the risks that we're dealing with,
right,
we run into a lot of challenges.
Oh, that I agree with you. Quantification is a God-blessed nightmare.
And the minute we use the word risk,
right,
word association, just the things people say, they bring in assessment, they bring in management, they bring in mitigation.
Yeah, those are the standard things around risk.
Right. But if instead we talk about hazards, we talk about danger, we don't do the things that draw in this, of course you must quantify that. And I think what we're doing
You're talking about the associations of the words, of the semantics and the psychological aspects, the connotations and denotations of the words.
I'm talking about the organizational failures, because once you say risk, people are like, okay, give me a number. And when we get, and you know how painful that conversation gets instantly.
What's the percentage that we're going to get hacked this year or this quarter or this month?
What is it going to cost us if we're hacked? And then you get into this room, somewhere there's a sign in this room that says maximum occupancy 25 people. Because there's a really clear trace from fire hazard to evacuation to can't evacuate quickly enough.
Right, if you have too many people.
When we pick your CWE, pick your threat, pick your problem.
Okay.
What is the relationship of that problem to ransomware? Right?
It depends.
Exactly. There's a complex web of maybe the attacker does this, maybe they do that, and it's hard to trace in the way that we can say, we're only going to let 25 people into this room, or we want 25 gauge wire to be supplying power. I'm not an electrician.
Yeah, it's okay. But 25 gauge is actually like Ethernet cable. So
it's
you can do
thin,
PoE,
Yep.
but you can't do like 120 volt at 15 amps. It wouldn't work.
Okay, see? And we know that. And it's a very simple relationship, which an expert can understand and explain to me quickly. And in cyber, what is the equivalent for PHP 7, right? What risk load can PHP 7 handle today?
Okay, I see what you're saying. So this is understanding the connections between the actual hazard, using your word, and the risk to the enterprise, the code, the environment, the whatever, is a complex web.
Yes.
And trying to manage that complex web is almost untenable in a reasonable amount of time and effort. Is that what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying, yes.
Okay. I can get that. I can see that. It's why risk quantification using, say, the FAIR Institute takes you god-awful amounts of time and a ridiculous amount of money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you don't want to do that for every threat that you're dealing with. And, I use a lot of terms. I use threat, I use hazard, I use danger, all to avoid getting into the associations that people get the minute you say risk.
That's okay. So you're not saying don't do anything with risk. You're saying, which is what I first thought when you said don't manage risk. I'm like, no, oh my God. But what you're saying is the word risk has those associations. And okay, so what are you saying for people to actually do, to be proactive about this? What are you saying that to do?
So the first thing I want them to do is threat model. I want them to anticipate the dangers that happen. And when I say threat, what I mean is the possibility of a future problem. It's threatening terrain. He threatened to beat me up if I didn't give him my lunch money.
This is not precisely the definition of threat we all learned in those courses about RTOs and RPOs and annual loss occurrence.
It's totally not, but it is absolutely a dictionary definition of threat. And I find it really useful because when I'm talking to a CEO, I can ask them, what can go wrong?
Yeah.
What future problems are you concerned about? And
business. And you asked it for business language problems. The business can go down. We can lose a customer. We can have a cyber event. They're categories almost, not necessarily specifics, or they can be specific. Yeah.
So here's the twist, the hack. When you ask someone what can go wrong, we can answer it the way you just did.
Right.
We can answer it using something like STRIDE, the mnemonic that is associated with threat modeling. We can answer it using kill chains. And if you're good to people and you say, yeah, that's a good answer, tell me more, we get all sorts of good answers. And so threat modeling can become a language for going up and down the business stack and having a conversation. But actually, can I go back to the question you asked?
Go ahead.
Which is, what do I recommend people do? When I was at Microsoft, people used a system called bug bars. And bug bars were just the immediate technical impact. This is an unauthenticated remote code execution bug.
Okay.
That's going to be a critical.
Yeah, I would say so. Yes,
Right.
That makes sense to me.
And there's no likelihood. There's no business impact, right?
It's a technical impact.
It's a technical impact because that's what Microsoft understood. And, you use Windows.
Their customers don't.
At home. Well, hang on.
Okay.
You use Windows at home.
Right.
The Defense Department uses Windows.
Yes.
Your risk profile, as it were, is very different. Microsoft can't make that judgment for you.
That's true. Yeah, they
And
don't know what uses I'm putting it to. They don't know. Maybe I'm a Defense Department worker working at home. Maybe I'm a critical infrastructure, whatever. Like maybe I'm just Joe Blow public. So yeah, exactly.
Maybe you're playing games all day long. Good for you. Enjoy.
Damn, he found me out. So they used bug bars, but and they can't understand the impact to you because your impact is specific to you.
Yes.
I get it. But that still doesn't tell me how do I do an apples to apples impact across all of these different variables? Because as you said yourself, it's a complex web. Keep going, please.
When I talk to development leadership, when I talk to operations leadership, they come to me and say, they want this apples to apples comparison, or they ask for it.
Yeah.
But really, what they're doing is not risk management. What they're doing is prioritization.
Valid.
They're saying, I'm going to fix this, not that. And the things that go into that fix decision are not only impact. It's direct cost, right? I was doing a threat model with a medical device maker who was they had one team that wanted to spend literally millions of dollars on PKI for their product, and others who really didn't want to. And the threat model got them all on the same page.
Oh, nice.
And got them to talk through what was going on. But more generally, prioritization is about cost. It's about delay.
Right.
It's about features not shipped. And only in the margin is it about the business impact of if this thing happens. Because we all know it's hard to say whether or not this thing is going to happen. Go ahead, sorry.
From a development perspective, yes, you're correct. The business impact is not minimized, but it's off to the side. It's in the margins, as you put it. From a business impact, from a business perspective, it's almost exactly the opposite. I don't necessarily care about the technical problems or technical issues, technical prioritization, excuse me. I care about the business prioritization of sales and churn and continuing clientele and everything else. How do you normalize those?
So the way most businesses normalize this, and my security peers hate me, so please don't lunge across the table, is to acknowledge that that's not the decision people are making, because we can't tell them that this problem here is going to lead to the technical problem that they experience, right? It's that web. You've got a bunch of different things, any of which may be discovered by an attacker and may be exploited and lead to a somewhat unpredictable outcome.
Right.
And so the thing I like to do, I like to describe threat modeling borrowing from the architect Frank Lloyd Wright, who said you can fix it on the drawing board with an eraser, or you can fix it on the job site with a sledgehammer.
Yep.
And an awful lot of the problems that we find are cheap and easy to fix if the developer, if the operations person knows that it's there early on.
Okay. And that's part of the shift left aspect, and that's part of the, fix it on the drawing board, fix it in the code, not in the operational. Oh God, production is screwed.
Yep.
Same page.
Or we're having an escalation over this.
But that still doesn't. And there's a complex. I'm sorry, I know I'm harping on this.
No.
But there's a complex web between this is a threat, this is a hazard or a threat, and this is the potential impact of that threat in a technical sense. And then on the other side of the table, here's the business hazards.
Yep.
We're down, customers' data is screwed, we lose something, whatever. The business type, they're semi-technical, but they're business aspects.
Okay.
They're what the customer cares about, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And then normalizing those two together, because that's, as you said, it's a complex, that interface between technical and business threats, hazards, and the impacts of those hazards is very difficult to link directly from this technical hazard to this business hazard.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Totally.
Okay. Do you have a lookup table, a methodology to interface those two sets?
I don't.
Okay.
But here's
Good.
the thing.
I'm not hallucinating. I wanted to make sure I understood properly.
Here's the thing I think. When we believe that risk quantification is going to get us there, what we're doing, and you mentioned the cost and energy to do something like FAIR.
Okay, yes.
What we're doing is we're spending energy on techniques that are not solving the problem. And so my keynote tomorrow, Stop Managing Risk, is about creating a space in which, as the saying goes, the first step is acknowledging you have a problem. We don't know.
Hi, my name is Josh and I'm a developer.
Hi, my name's Adam. I'm a security guy.
Yeah, we've got problems.
We've got a problem. And as long as we jump to risk and anticipate that risk does more than it really does for us, right? Let's shine a cold, harsh light on risk, stop managing risk, and start figuring out how we can best get to prioritization. And I think there are actually some security-centered answers. Mm-hmm. Things like isolation, also called zero trust, allow us to reduce the blast radius, the impact zone, what have you. And even though I can't quantify it, I can tell you one of the things people get from their cloud migrations when they migrate to these newer cloud systems.
Correctly, not just lift and shift.
That's exactly what I was going to say, is that they start to get the opportunity to put more security controls in.
Right.
They limit their blast radius, and they make their systems safer, even though we can't quantify that safety.
In broad terms, we can. We can't quantify it down to the dollar, but we can quantify it. And that's where you can potentially categorize. You can categorize it.
You can categorize it, but to go back to the question that we'd all love to answer, what is the connection from the threat to the business result, the customer result?
Yes.
We can say, this is going to shrink the likelihood that we're going to have bad customer results. We don't know by how much. We don't know which ones, but we know we're constraining the problem instead of having these unconstrained problems. That sort of thinking is where I want people to go and put their energy into discovering new solutions, new techniques, new approaches, rather than managing risk.
Oh, wow. Adam, that's amazing. So Adam, they can find these ideas. Didn't you write a book recently?
So my most recent book, Threats, What Every Engineer Should Learn from Star Wars.
I love it.
Thank you. is more about how do we teach, and the title really is a promise on a very serious book, what every engineer should learn. And then there's a fun coat of paint. But it really is about how do engineers think about security if they haven't come up in security, starting from like R2-D2, right? How does R2-D2 know who Obi-Wan Kenobi is? From this, we can get into authentication, we can get into authorization.
Oh my goodness.
And so this risk thinking is newer. I will be posting the slides.
Oh, good.
I hope that at some
Where will you
point,
be posting them?
I will be posting them at shostack.org, my last name.org.
Perfect.
/blog, but people can find me there. All of this, key point that I want to make is this comes from listening to the challenges that our customers face as they try to develop more secure products, more secure systems, more secure services. And we watch them, the book, the threats book, comes from a struggle that engineers have understanding security. This risk work comes from understanding that the thing we have been taught to do, that we have been teaching one another to do, isn't delivering the value we aspire to. And so that's real. This is just my sort of learning cycle is I find a problem that I think I have a way to chip away at, and hopefully I chip away at it and make people's lives a little better.
That's awesome. Thank you, Adam, for joining me today. This is great. To find all of Cyber Risk Alliance's coverage of this event, please visit securityweekly.com/OWASP-AppSec, all one word. Stick around. We'll be back with more expert interviews. Adam, thank you so much. This was awesome.
Thank you. Really enjoyed this one.